Hello and welcome to a wintry grey morning on Gubb Farm. Over the coming days I will be establishing a coppicing forest by taking wood cuttings from the hedgerows around me. I will be talking about the choice of trees. I will be discussing the planting plan, specifically how to select spacing between the rows which is right for you, and showing you how to establish a coppicing forest without spending a penny, just via taking cuttings from hedgerows. The first thing to consider is the choice of tree to suit the land conditions where you're planting. So the area behind me, up to about where I'm standing, that'll flood at certain times of the year. So I have to select a variety that is happy in waterlogged conditions. And around here, there are only two types of trees that seem to do well in those conditions. And that is the salix varieties, willow and sallie. The dominant of the two is sallie. So I'm going to work with the trees that grow well in these conditions. The other added benefit to salix varieties is that they're very easy to propagate. You can just cut off 1, 2, 3-year-old growth, stick it in the ground, and there's a good chance that it will root and establish itself. Another reason for selecting salix varieties is that they establish themselves very quickly, and then after you coppice them, they regrow quickly, with some people saying that you can take a cut from them every 3 years. But salix varieties are not the only choice of tree if you are establishing a coppicing forest. Hazel would be a popular choice, ash, etc. But they will not grow very well in the ground behind me because this will be in about 1 or 2 foot of water for a couple of weeks of the year. The next big decision you have to make then is on the spacing. How you're going to line out your rows and what will be the spacing of the rows and how thick will the rows be. So for me, I would like to be able to use machines to harvest this coppiced forest once it's established. So I looked at the machines I expect to use when that happens. First of all, I would like to be able to drive a tractor and a trailer straddled either side of the trees. So when the trees are cut down, they'll be fed into a wood chipper and that'll be blown into a trailer. So I'd like to be able to drive the tractor and the trailer straddled either side of the coppiced wood. I would like to use a digger with a 3 shear. So I'll go along with the digger, I will grab the tree, cut them with the shear and feed them into a wood chip machine. So having thought through the machines that I want to use, I then looked at the outside and inside width. Most of them tend to work on a 45cm tyre or track size, and the range of space between the tyres or the tracks or the trailer wheels, the smallest space was about 1 metre for the tractor and the widest to the outside of the wheels was 2.65 metres. So having looked at the machines that I want to use and the spacing of the tracks and tyres, etc., I have settled on establishing 1 metre rows. So 1 metre with trees in it, then 1 metre of empty space. Next metre will have trees in it, etc. So the distance to the outer edge of the 2 blank rows with the coppiced trees in the centre will be 3 metres. Now because the tractor is exactly 1 metre wide to the inside tyres, I will actually make the trees, I'll plant them at about 80-90 centimetres apart within that row. So I'll not put them in the ground right at the 1 metre boundary. I'm going to start the row about 2 metres from the edge. I will be cutting back these trees that are hanging over. Ground's a bit hard. Just going to use some electric fencing line to mark out the rows. I'm going to start taking cuttings from these overhanging branches, and in doing so clear the line. So willow and sallie can probably be planted at 30 centimeters, 45 centimeters apart. But for coppicing, what I've read online, and that doesn't mean it's true, but what I've read is that it's best to plant them about 90 centimeters, so slightly outstretched arms distance apart. So I'll put one here and I'll stagger them down the row. Let the fun begin. Just putting them about that distance into the ground, about 3 inches, 4 inches. The ground's a little hard. So I estimate there's about another 30 hours of work in this. So before I get stuck in, I'm going to get something to eat. So I'm coming towards the end of my second day establishing this coppicing forest. It's taking about 2.5 hours to put in a row. So far I've got 4 rows in, and I'm going to finish off one more today, this 5th row. I think that'll do me for this phase of planting. I don't know how well this is going to take. I don't know what is the best way to prepare the branches that I've cut off. So I've done a variety of experiments. I put in thick branches, thin branches. I have pruned them hard, some less so. So I put in a whole mix of the 3 to see which takes the best. So what I will do is I'll come back in the springtime and we will inspect to see, which technique has worked the best. And once I've established a pattern for what works, then I can continue to do that over the coming years. My intention is to establish about 20, maybe 25 rows of 3s between this field and that field. And I think 5 rows should be enough per year to supply the wood chip that I need. It will depend on how heavy they are when I start cutting them back, but I'm hoping 5 rows will be enough. And on that basis then I will have either a 4 or a 5 year rotation. So each year I'll take 5 rows, and if I have 20 rows, then on year 4 I rotate back to the first row. And if I get 25 rows in, then that gives me a greater recovery time, and also gives me a bit more flexibility to take an extra row or 2 if I have misjudged the amount of wood chip that is going to produce. So I'm just going to finish up this row. Then tomorrow I'm going to make a start on the next wave of planting for the hazelnut trees. So in that video I will give you an update on where I am with the grant that I've applied for. I will give you an update on the availability of trees. You know, am I going to get them? How many am I going to get? And we'll start talking about the planting plan and how we're going to lay out the land for the next phase of planting. So if you are interested in seeing if it is possible to establish a coppicing forest this way at zero cost, we'll click on that subscribe button and I'll come back in the springtime and we will see how well it has worked out. So until then, good luck!